there is a reasonable basis to look into these claims. So
I've
will the government
responded.
respond in any way? Is it just
I've
going
responded.
to
Your
status quo lang?
question is misleading, and I will not answer a misleading question. Pia Ranada, please.
Hello, sir, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead. We can hear you.
Okay, sir, just on the ICC report, sir, just the finding, no, that they said that they found basis to say that there were crimes against humanity committed in relation to the drug war. Sir, is this proof that what critics have been saying all along are correct, that the president's war on drugs is tainted by human rights abuses?
That's grossly misleading, Pia, because precisely the press release is that they will decide by mid of next year whether or not they will proceed to preliminary investigation. So the question is based on a misleading fact, and therefore I cannot respond to a misleading question.
But sir, it's in the report itself that they found reasonable basis.
I don't think so, because precisely they would have announced already whether or not they would proceed to preliminary examination. There was no such announcement.
Oh, but sir, even then, it's still a different, parang an advance or a, kumbaga parang a development in the way that the ICC is handling the case. And critics nga are saying that, this may not be the investigation itself, but it's something that, shows that there's reason for the ICC to consider that investigation. So my question is, sir, what will the government do about it? I mean, critics see this as a sort of affirmation in a way that what they've been saying, diba, it's not just out of thin air, because the ICC itself is considering their complaints and is seeing that there is a reasonable basis to look into these claims. So
I've responded.
Will the government respond in any way? Is it just going
I've responded. Your
status quo
question is misleading, and I will not answer a misleading question. The announcement is the decision whether or not they will proceed to ask the pretrial chamber for authorization to proceed to a preliminary examination will be out next year. So there is no finding to speak of. Besides, as I've said, they can do what they want. Hindi naman natin kinikilala ng presidenteng jurisdiction at meron na pong desisyon ang ICC chamber. So sa akin lang bilang abogado, the prosecutor cannot ignore that jurisprudence na hindi magpapatuloy ang investigasyon kung hindi naman po magiging successful dahil walang kooperasyon.
Okay, sir, going naman sir to the face-to-face classes, sir. You showed a timeline of the events that will take place in January. Sir, so this means, sir, yung January 11 to 23, that's the only time when the face-to-face classes will happen?
Yes, January 11 to 23.
And then, sir, do we know what will happen if the DepEd and DOH see that it was safe? I mean, will this mean that the rest of 2021, we will see face-to-face classes in those low-risk areas?
Nako, I cannot read the future, so let's wait for the pilot and let's see what happens.
Okay. And then, sir, on the face shield requirement, sir, you mentioned that this is in order to avoid a surge in holiday cases. So does this mean that at a certain point, ililift po yung face shield requirement, or this will be forever, like for an indefinite period of time?
Alam mo kasi halos lahat naman tayo meron na tayong face shield eh. Kasi hindi ka makapagtrabaho, hindi ka makapunta sa mall kung walang face shield. So ang realidad, lahat tayo meron ng face shield. Ang bagong rule na lang is isuot kapag lalabas ng bahay. So I don't think it's an issue of cost anymore kasi I doubt kung meron pang tao na walang face shield. So let's just say it is added protection at it is here to stay hanggang tayo po ay mabakunahan. At hindi naman po siguro magrereklamo na mahal, no? Dahil 5 piso na lang po ang face shield ngayon.
Hindi sir, hindi yung cost. It's more of the time frame. Will this be a requirement forever until mawala yung pandemic or just for the holiday season?
Hindi ko po alam, no? Pero ang sinasabi ko nga, whether be it for the holiday or for longer period of time, meron na tayong face shield, gamitin na lang for added protection dahil meron naman pong studies that show na talagang nai-improve ang chances of avoiding the disease pag sumuot ng face shield, not just the face mask. Okay, thank you very much, Pia.
So last question, just a clarification.
6 questions na yan. No? We'll have to go to back to Yusek Roque. Thank you. Yusek Roque?
Yes, good afternoon, Secretary Roque. First question from Rose Novenari of Hataw. Reaction daw po sa International Criminal Court warrant of arrest for President Duterte. may be issued end of 2020.
That's speculative po, no? But in any case, gawin nila ang gusto nilang gawin. Sinabi na natin, di natin kinikilala ang jurisdiction ng ICC. So, kampante po kami na dahil sinabi na natin yan, i-apply ng ICC yung naging ruling na nila sa isang kaso, no? Na bakit ka pa magsisimula ng kaso kung hindi ka naman makipagtulungan yung bansa na naging miyembro ng ICC. Decision po yan ng ICC mismo, pre-trial chamber, doon po sa kaso na nais nila mag-imbestiga laban sa mga Amerikano. I'm confident po na i-apply din yung prinsipyo pagdating kay Presidente. Speculative at bahala po ang prosecutor kung gusto niyang magkaroon na naman ng pangalawang ruling na hindi po pwede mag-imbestiga kung walang kooperasyon.
Ang tanong mula kay Tuesday New of DCBB, may mention lang siya, the decision of whether the International Criminal Court's Chief Prosecutor will seek authorization to launch an investigation into alleged extrajudicial killings linked to the government's war on drugs would be out in the first half of 2021.
Nasagot ko na po. Bahala sila kung kung anong gusto nilang gawin. Di po natin kinikilala ang jurisdiction ng ICC at ang decision mismo ng ICC sa kaso po ng mga Amerikano doon sa mga nangyari sa sa Afghanistan pala, ay nagsabi na kapag walang kooperasyon, bakit ka pa magsisimula ng investigasyon? Sayang lang po ang pera at ang oras.
From Michael Flores of Agence France Press, how does the Philippines view the ICC prosecutor's latest comments that there is a reasonable basis to believe crimes against humanity were committed in the government's war on drugs?
Obviously, we do not agree with her. It's legally erroneous dahil meron po tayong minimum gravity na required. Hindi po lahat ng krimen ay liniliti sa ICC. Pero gaya na aking sinabi, meron na pong desisyon ng ICC na hindi sasayangin ng ICC ang pera at panahon ng kanyang mga opisyales sa mga kaso na hindi naman po uusad dahil walang kooperasyon.
Thank you, Secretary.
Melo Acuña, please.
Yeah, Secretary, I wouldn't want to rub it in. Good afternoon, by the way. In the resolution on the Republic of the Philippines by the ICC, it said the exercise of the court's jurisdiction on the investigation and prosecution of crimes committed up to and including 16 March 2019 is not subject to any time limit. May I have your views about this?
There is no decision issued by the ICC yet. That is misleading.
Okay. Okay, maiba po ako. Sige. Ano po ang Christmas gift na maibibigay sa mga kawani at mga nagretiro sa IBC 13 na naghihintay ng grasya ngayon?
Naku, wala po ko alam dyan. Pakitanong na lang po si Secretary Andanar o di naman kaya si Yusek Roque.
Question from Virgil Lopez of GMA News Online. Will the Palace instruct the Department of Foreign Affairs to file a communication with the ICC to refute the findings of the ICC prosecutor?
Ay, hindi po yan trabaho na ng DFA dahil wala na nga pong jurisdiction ang ICC sa katauhan po ng ating presidente. At kampante po kami na with jurisprudence in the ICC, wala pong dahilan para magpatuloy na sa examination ang prosecutor ng ICC.
Palace reaction daw po, nearly half of or 48% of Filipino families said they consider themselves poor, while only 16% reported feeling not poor, according to the November 2020 survey by the Social Weather Station.
Well, nakakalungkot po talaga yan at yan ay epekto ng pagpatuloy na lockdown natin at quarantine dahil nga po sa pandemya. Ang Christmas gift na lang po na maibibigay natin sa lahat ay yung pag-asa na matatapos na nga po itong pandemyang ito dahil nandyan ang bakuna. Ginagawa natin ng lahat para maibigay ang mga bakuna sa mga Pilipino, kahit ano pang halagang yan. At dahil alam natin na ito lang po ang tunay na solusyon sa pandemyang ito. At matapos po ang pandemya, lahat po tayo, makakabalik na po tayo sa ating mga hanap buhay at bababa po yung kahirapan.
Thank you, Secretary. Okay, Secretary, question from Chris Jose of Remate. Clarification lang daw po, tama po ba na mas pabor ang Malacanang sa Sinovac vaccine ng China kumpara po sa ibang vaccine na mas mura gaya ng Pfizer? Tapos mas maraming bansa na ang nag-approve dito. Ano po ba ang basehan ng pagbili ng vaccine? Kasama po ba ang pagkonsidera sa presyo ng bakuna?
Lilinawin ko po muli. Dalawa pong criteria natin, dapat ligtas, dapat epektibo. Ang problema, gustuhin man natin ng Pfizer, wala naman tayong makuha para sa first quarter. Ang tinatarget ng delivery ng Pfizer, na hindi pa natin alam kung ilan, ay sa second at sa third quarter. At maraming hindi na makakaantay ng second to third quarter. Kaya nga po, lahat po yung mga batas natin sa procurement, yan naman po ay based on human experience. Sa panahon ng pandemya, health emergency, bibili natin ano ang mabibili natin. At sa ngayon po, ang talagang nagbibigay sa atin ay ang bansang China dahil nagkaroon nga po ng kasunduan din si President Xi na isi-share ng China ang bakuna na magagawa sa China. Pero ganyan din po ating kasunduan sa Russia, ganyan din po ating kasunduan sa India. At siyempre po, kung makakakuha tayo ng Pfizer, na AstraZeneca, at nakakuha na nga yung pribadong sektor ng AstraZeneca, na balita ko, mapaparami pa, at saka Moderna, and Johnson, well and good po. Pero ngayon, the market is really demand-driven, and we will get what we can procure. Wala po tayong favorites.
Opo, ang question mula naman kay Maricel Halili ng TV5, as Senator Gatchalian calls for the replacement of PRB's head following its failure to address heavy traffic caused by cashless toll collection. He said the executive director is not doing his job. Do you support this statement? Should the PRB's head be replaced?
I will not comment for the time being dahil hindi ko po alam kung ano yung hindi nagawang katungkulan ng ating TRB head. No? Sa ngayon po, alam ko, patuloy po ang pag-uusap sa panig po ng operator at ng mga lokal na pamahalaan. Inaantay lang po natin ang kung ano man ang magiging kasunduan nila. Pero pagdating po sa TRB, may jurisdiction po talaga ang TRB at hindi ko lang po sigurado kung yung kontrobersiya nito ay mapapaloob po sa kapangyarihan na binigay sa TRB. Let me check on that.
Opo, second question niya, Senate adopts a resolution asking DOTR to suspend the implementation of cashless transaction on tollways, stating that implementers are not equipped to make the transaction. What's your thought on this? How will this affect the government's effort to minimize spread of COVID?
Well, the question po has become moot and academic dahil tumatanggap na pumuli sila ng cash. And I regularly pass through NLEX and TPLEX. So meron na po silang cash collection booths.
Hi, good afternoon, Secretary. Good afternoon, Sir Domingo po. Sir, yung una, before I move to my main questions po, una lang sir, yung dun sa wearing of face shields, is there going to be a penalty kung hindi po magsuot or kung makalimutan magsuot ng face shields?
We can only enforce it. Nasa lokal na pamalahan po ang pagpapataw ng parusa. Nullum crimen, nulla poena sine lege.
Sir, dito po sa face-to-face or limited face-to-face classes, ano po yung naging consideration or nag-prompt sa Pangulo to try this setup out?
Well, kasi nga po, ito ay para sa low COVID areas. It is a pilot and it has to be consented to by the parents and the LGU. Ano yung primary consideration? Kasi alam natin na talagang itong ginagawa nating blended learning is far from ideal. At ang ideal pa rin talaga is face-to-face. So we're trying to see if we can live with the virus at malalaman po natin kung po pwede nga, lalo na dun sa mga areas na talagang wala namang COVID na.
Sir, yung isa pong private hospitals group actually warned that there are not enough healthcare workers to accommodate the possible increase of COVID-19 patients after the holiday season if maging sobrang araw po yung pagtaas. Is the government ready for a potential hospital care crisis po when a COVID surge happens?
Right now, we do not see the crisis because lahat po ng ating critical care capacity is not even in an alarming stage, no? So, in fact, kahapon po yung latest figures natin, ang alam ko po, mga 60% capacity ang ating ICU, kung di ako nagkakamali. So, marami naman po tayong espasyo, pero ang sinasabi ko nga po, wag nating hangarin na tayo mga ilangan ng espasyo dahil ang gusto natin ay Merry Christmas and Happy New Year and not a stay in the hospital.
Sir, with that, kasi magbubukas na rin po yung simbang gabi or magsisimula na po siya bukas. Any reminder, sir, for mask goers and even the LGUs in terms of implementing yung ating minimum health standards?
Buo po ang tiwala natin sa mga simbahan, sa simbahang Katolika, na ipatutupad po yung existing guidelines, 30% capacity, and may distancing po sa mga upuan. At siyempre po, kinakailangan lahat na magsisimba, naka-mask, naka-face shield, kinakailangan mag-disinfect, at kinakailangan walang kahit sino na mayroong simptomas ay magsisimba. So, alam ko naman po na bilang mga Kristiyano, importante itong simbang gabi, pero dahil tayo nga po ay mga Kristiyano, no, meron din tayong obligasyon na pangalagaan ang ating kalusugan dahil sinasabi nga po sa Biblia, ang ating mga katawan ay templo ng Panginoon. So alagaan po natin, ingatan po natin ang pagkakasakit sa pamamagitan ng mask, hugas, iwas.
Sir, my last question is either for you or Director Domingo or sa PSTV and guests po natin. Yung about lang po dun sa Pfizer vaccine, because sir, if we really wanted this Pfizer vaccine, were there efforts in previously or earlier to reach out to them, especially dun sir sa early stages ng paggagawa pa lang ng bakuna? Because I understand, sir, for example, Singapore, their Prime Minister said that they are working silently in the early days pa lang po nung pagbuo nitong bakuna ng Pfizer. Kasi sir, hindi po ba advantage to ng mga rich countries na maaga po silang pumilos or nag-negotiate with Pfizer, for example?
Naku po, malinaw po na no less than our Secretary of Foreign Affairs negotiated with his counterpart in the US, Secretary Pompeo, para tayo po ay magkaroon ng supply ng Pfizer. So hindi naman po tayo nagkulang dyan, no? At meron talaga pong kasunduan na bibigyan tayo ng Pfizer. Ang issue nga lang po, when, no? Pero ang kasunduan po ay January pa po, no? January darating sa Clark. Well, anyway, ang tinatanong ko, when the negotiation took place. Pero ang alam ko po, maaga pa nakipag-negotiate po si Secretary Locsin dahil naalala ko po yung meeting na yan. No? Pero maaga pa po in 2020, nakipag-negotiate na po si Secretary Locsin. Hindi lang nakipag-negotiate, nakipagkasundo pa na bibigyan tayo ng Amerika ng Pfizer.
Thank you, Secretary. Salamat po.
Yusek Roque, please. Thank you, Trish.
Question from Pia Gutierrez, ABS-CBN. May identified areas na ba for the possible resumption of face-to-face classes?
Gaya po ng binasa ko sa timeline, ang selection po will be done by the Secretary on December 28.
Question from Tina Mendez of Philippine Star. Did President Duterte give the order for the PNP to arrest Christmas party goers who violate of IATF quarantine guidelines? PNP Chief General Sinas announced this new order to his men today.
Wala naman pong ganong order, pero katungkulan po yan ng kapulisan na ipatupad po ang ating mga quarantine restrictions.
Ano daw, from Tina Mendez pa rin po ng Philippine Star, ano daw po ang ginagawa ng FDA sa COVID-19 vaccine na nasa black market? Namomonitor po ba ng FDA ang ganyang reports?
Opo, nakailang raid na nga po kami ng mga clinic pero wala naman po kami pang nahuhuli. Pag may mga reports, we always go and check yung regulatory enforcement unit namin. Pero winawarn po namin lahat kayo, pag may nakita kayong binibenta o inilala ko, huwag po niyong ipapaturok yan dahil wala pa po talaga tayong registered or allowed authorized vaccine dito sa Pilipinas. So pumapasok man po yan, illegal, hindi natin alam kung saan siya dumaan, kung paano siya na-handle, and it might not be safe for you to have yourself injected. Wag po, hindi pa po talaga, wala pa pong bakuna dito sa atin.
At saka pag binili nyo po yan sa black market, hindi nyo alam kung peke yan. Baka tubig lang yan, magbabayad pa kayo ng napakamahal para sa tubig na ituturok sa inyo.
Question from Ace Romero for Secretary Roque daw po. You mentioned we are buying Sinovac because we cannot immediately buy doses from AstraZeneca, Pfizer, and Moderna. But is the government ready to wait given that data on safety and efficacy of Sinovac vaccine seem to be lacking at least for now? If yes, how long? How do you balance the need to...
Ace.
How do you...
Oo.
Yes, sige po.
Well, gaya ng sinabi ni Dr. Domingo, wala naman po tayong gagamiting bakuna na hindi napatunayang ligtas at epektibo.